everybody! My name is Michelle the Bookworm, and in this week's video I'm going to do something a little bit different, something that I haven't done before. So, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I went to a giant book sale at my, hosted by my local library. So, I live in Eugene, so it was a huge, giant book sale, hosted by the Eugene Public Library, and I bought probably too many books, definitely went over my budget, but I would like to share them with you today, because I'm very excited about a lot of these. So let's just get right into it. I kind of have a lot. I'll show you my fat stack of classic novels. I'm very excited. So the first book, I actually have already started reading this. This is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I have heard a lot about this from other students, other English majors while I was going to college. And so far it's a pretty good read. It's placed in a dystopian era where something's happened and women are, they've gone back to the old ways, is from what I've gleaned so far, where women are thought of as a lower class. Again, I haven't gotten too far into it, so I'm definitely intrigued and excited for this one. Another book that I'm very excited for, and probably one of my favorites, is actually the fourth Harry Potter book in French. I'm currently reading the third Harry Potter book in hardback. It's right over here, actually, I believe. Okay, well, it's somewhere. I'm currently reading the picture book of the third Harry Potter book, so after I'm done reading that, I will be reading Harry Potter et la Coupe de Feu. That should be interesting. I've never read a French book. I do speak and know French, but I've never actually read a book in French, so this will be a fun experience. Another book that I bought that I'm excited for in relation to French is Victor Hugo Les Miserables. This is another book that I have definitely heard about. It wasn't something that I read in college. It was something that definitely interested me, but I just didn't have the time. This is definitely, from what I know about this book, this is about a revolution in France during 1862. So this should be interesting. I really love French culture, and I really love anything that has rebellion in it. So that should be really fun. Moving right along, I absolutely love the Brontes, so I picked up a couple of the Bronte books. This one's by Charlotte Bronte. If you didn't know, there are actually 3 Bronte sisters. This is Villette, and from what I've gleaned from it, it kind of has a Jane Eyre-esque vibe to it, which Jane Eyre is one of my favorite novels. So I'm hoping that it kind of goes along the same lines as Jane Eyre. I'm pretty excited for that, but we'll see. The next book I have is actually by Emily Bronte, which is Wuthering Heights. I've obviously heard about this book, but again, it's one of those books that I've heard about, I've heard discussed, but it was never a required reading in college for me. So I'm excited now to pick up a classic that it has so much prestige and kind of like see how it is for myself. And see how Emily is. I don't think I've read anything by Emily so far. I've read some from the other 2 sisters, but I don't think I've read Emily yet, so that'll be interesting to kind of compare the 2. Another author that I absolutely love, I have a couple of books by Jane Austen. This is Persuasion. I actually have this book. This book is actually on LibriVox, which is a free, it's a free audiobook app that I have. This is no way promoting it, or I'm not promoted by LibriVox, but it's a really good, I've seen this multiple times on LibriVox, and it would be really easy to kind of read it and listen to it at the same time. So that'll be really interesting. It's popped up a lot on my LibriVox actually, so that'll be a fun read. Another one by Jane Austen is Emma. Again, this is another book on my LibriVox TBR, but maybe if I have the book, I'll actually get around to listening to it. Yeah, this should be a fun read. I don't remember what any of these books were about, but I'm pretty excited to read them. This one is another one by Jane Austen, and so Sense and Sensibility sounds a lot like my favorite book by Jane Austen, which is Love and Friendship, which is what really kind of piqued my interest about it. I'm really hoping that it's a satire, because I absolutely love Jane Austen's satire. I'm thinking it is, but we'll see. Again, I don't know too much about this book either, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have to read Love and Friendship again first. So, moving along to my second stack, I picked up a copy of Dantes Inferno. I did read this in college, but I actually really, really enjoyed it. And I'm currently on I'm currently reading or watching Lucifer on Netflix. So this piqued my interest because of my recent show watching habits. So this will be a really good thing to add to really good novel to add to my collection. And reading it a second time, I'm hoping to kind of get more out of it. The next book that I have is Charles Dickens' Bleak House. So I haven't read too much of Charles Dickens, to be honest, but this book piqued my interest because one of my college professors, she said that this is one of her favorite novels, that it was one of the best novels that she has ever read, and she was roughly 55 years old. So I'm looking forward to reading this because this was recommended by a seasoned English teacher, so I'm hoping that it's good. Sometimes I don't always agree with what my English teachers say is good, but, we'll see. We'll see. And I like Charles Dickens. The next one that I'm really looking forward to is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I've heard so much about this, and in college I was fortunate enough to be able to read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and while we were reading that in class, Frankenstein constantly kept being brought up. And it'll be really interesting to kind of take the horror lenses that we learned in college and kind of apply them to Frankenstein. So that'll be really fun. And another thing I really like about these is that a lot of this is obviously a college book. There are, writings from other people. See that? Like, this is obviously somebody's college textbook, and I get to read all their little thoughts and about what they thought of the book. So a lot of people get really pissed off when they find books that have already been written in. I think it's kind of like having a conversation with somebody who previously read the book. Like, it's a little one-sided, but I think it'll be really fun. So I'm looking forward to reading this and kind of comparing it to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde a little bit. The next book that I have is The Scarlet Letter. This also has some historical pieces to it. From what I've gleaned, The Scarlet Letter is a book about women who had to wear like the letter A on themselves for adulteress, and that's all I basically know about it. I'm kind of interested to see what other people have read, what other people think about this book. So I'm going to read it myself, and then I'm going to read the essays and kind of, I don't know, I think that'll be fun to see what other people think about this book as well. The last few books that I have, I'm quickly going through this stack. I am a huge fan of Shakespeare, and I love actually studying Shakespeare. So this is a book about Shakespeare on film. This is a book about studies in Shakespeare and basically just literary articles about Shakespeare, which I absolutely love. I miss learning about Shakespeare. I actually haven't read all of his works, which is something that I'm hopefully going to do this year. It's one of my goals, is to finish all of Shakespeare's works. Another book that I have is Art and Artifice in Shakespeare, so kind of just talking about like dramatic contrast and illusion, and another analysis book on Shakespeare's work. So that'll kind of be a fun educational read. I'm always learning new things, and I love it. The next book that I have is a book of Walden and Other Writings by Henry David Thoreau. I actually really enjoyed reading about Thoreau in college, and just his attention to the environment and his just his influence into eco-criticism. I just think and just this connection that he has with nature, and I don't know, I'd really like to know more about him. He's actually somebody that I've been really looking forward to studying more of his work. In college, we spent a week on him, maybe, and I was like, no, please, I want more. So this is it. Finally, I can learn more. So we're down to the last three. This is the last of the classic novels that I've bought. This is just 101 Famous Poems. I've been really wanting to get more into poetry lately, but I studied a lot of poetry in college, but I was really more interested in the novels. Now I kind of wouldn't mind picking up poetry a little bit more. And what's really interesting is that this is what I love about old books. You find little snippets. I don't know where this came from. This came from the person who read this book before me. So it'll be nice to just read through these and see what other people have thought as well. My last two novels are not classic novels at all, but I'm still pretty excited for them. This one is Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. Stephen King is another one of my all-time favorite authors. I'm not sure if you know about that about me, but now you do. I absolutely love King's concept of horror, where you really don't know what's going to happen. This one is one that I don't have. I actually have around, I want to say like 30 Stephen King's books, which I've only read maybe half of them. So this is another one that I haven't read, and it sounds like it's about this woman who's trying to figure out what happened. Like, she's accused of her husband's murder, and she's trying to figure out what actually happened to him. So it's a murder mystery too, which will be really fun. And last but not least, I was recommended this book while I was at the book fair. It's by Nora Roberts, and it's called Year One. This is a post-apocalyptic book, which another thing I love is I love post-apocalyptic concepts, and this one is about like this sickness that spreads over the world, and there's magic, there's witches, and it just sounds like something that's completely right up my alley, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, this will be really fun. And it's book 1 of the Chronicles series? Oh, the Chronicles of the One. Oh, book 1. So it's called the One series. It should be a really interesting read. I'm pretty excited. So, that concludes my first book haul. I have no idea when I'm going to get around to all of these. Normally I'm reading like 5 books at a time, but I'm trying to really buckle down and focus on pumping out some of these books and writing reviews about them. So I'm limiting myself to 2 books at this time. And I'm not sure which book I'm going to read next. Again, I'm currently reading A Handmaid's Tale, so as soon as I'm done with that, I'll probably write a review about that. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. I know this video wasn't really, it's kind of more of like a show and tell and talking about the kind of books that I like, but feel free to leave a comment below if you've read any of these books. Which book do you think that I should read next? Anyway, thank you for joining me and coming along with me on this tour, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!